Famous Chinese actor Zhao Wei has had her name scrubbed from the credits of films and TV shows in China overnight late last month. It's the latest notable move of Beijing's sweeping crackdown in China on so-called bad influence on the youth. From dual deduction to common prosperity policy, a continuous revolutionary activity is in full swing all over China. In the new semester, students across China have one new lesson in their curriculum, Xi Jinping Thought, a compulsory subject for everyone. Communist China is using gray zone tactics to make its sneaky moves to get closer to its purpose, either invasion or incursion. Along with its aerial incursions into Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, Chinese dredging ships are swarming Taiwan's Matsu Islands on the sea, sometimes in Taiwan's water. In the meantime, China is recruiting civilian ferries to drill for potential amphibious landing attacks on Taiwan. Large ferries recruited from China's civilian fleet were used in naval exercises held both last summer and this July. Delta variant of COVID-19 might have had a big break-in window through pilots of international airlines. 1.1 million text messages were sent on September 4th by the Central Epidemic Command Center of Taiwan to warn people who might have visited the same locations at the same time as pilots in a suspected COVID-19 cluster. The text message informs receivers to take a fast test or to ask for help from a doctor if they notice any symptoms. Taoyuan and New Taipei City tightened Level 2 restrictions in fear of a Delta variant outbreak. But the government does not plan to elevate the nationwide Level 2 COVID-19 alert at this time, despite a growing cluster of infections in New Taipei.
Hello, I'm Wade Lee. Thank you for joining us on this week's Fun Day News. Here are your top stories. Chinese actress, businesswoman, film director, producer, and pop star Zhao Wei is no stranger to many Taiwanese. Her famous TV series, My Fair Princess, was a hit in the late 90s. Beijing has been cracking down on chaotic celebrity fan culture, taking the work of misbehaved celebrities offline. Zhao is the latest target, having been erased from Chinese social media platforms such as Weibo. On the surface, they appear to be helping the youth, but realistically, through the new national curriculum of Xi Jinping Thought, many believe it's a step towards a cultural revolution 2.0.
On August 26th, Chinese celebrity Zhao Wei was literally erased overnight with all entries related to her on social media platforms removed, her name scrubbed from the credits of films and TV shows, and all content featuring her, including film, TV, talk show appearances, and more, removed from major streaming sites. 2 days later, on August 28th, a man named Li Guanman posted an article on his personal social media accounts entitled, "Everyone can feel that a profound transformation is happening," explaining in detail Beijing's motives for the moves. The following day, it was reprinted by all major state media, including the People's Daily, Xinhua, CCTV, and the Guangmin Daily. Wang Dang, a US-based Chinese activist and a former student leader during the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests, said the party's latest moves to reform the cultural sector aim to push forward a social movement similar to the Cultural Revolution that happened between 1966 and 1976.
The 1st of September, Xi addressed the party school of the Central Committee and urges the nation's youth to abandon illusion and dare to struggle, to safeguard national sovereignty, safety, and development. September 2nd, China's broadcast regulator called for talent shows, reality TV, and male pop stars displaying effeminate behavior to be taken off air. In announcing the restrictions, the Chinese Communist Party Publicity Department accused the entertainment industry of severely polluting the social atmosphere and being a bad influence on young people.
Since late October of last year, when Ma Yun, the founder of Alibaba, disappeared, China has launched a wide crackdown on a broad range of industries. From cloud computing companies like Alibaba and Tencent to ride-hailing company Didi Chuxing, all the way down to movie stars and singers like Zhao Wei. They have done an about-face on policies and the severity of crackdown, along with the way the Chinese Communist Party uses the ghostwriter Li to force people to follow suit, as all major state media did. Intelligentsia like Wang Dan are reminded of the Cultural Revolution that happened between 1966 and 1976. Xi's message on September 1st claims to correct the youth. He wants the youth to abandon illusion and to struggle for the country of the Communist Party. Media reports a lying flat movement is popular among the youth in China, and the government worries if that is a nihilistic silent protest.
Other than China's long-standing threats to invade Taiwan via aerial incursion and maritime blockade, they would ultimately require the biggest amphibious invasion in human history to transport equipment and personnel across the Taiwan Strait in order to deploy off the coast of Taiwan. On April 23rd, China commissioned its first Yusen-class landing helicopter assault ship. It's a small-scale aircraft carrier that can transport helicopters, hovercraft, and armored amphibious assault vehicles. In the meantime, China is recruiting large ferries from civilian fleets in naval exercises held last summer and in July, suggesting that Beijing could use non-military vessels to leapfrog its current amphibious transportation bottleneck.
In a Jamestown Foundation report published last month, an instructor at the China Maritime Studies Institute of the U.S. Naval War College, Connor Kennedy, found that China converted a commercial ferry into an amphibious vessel for military purposes. He discovered in news reports on an amphibious exercise in Guangdong province last summer, a Chinese commercial ferry, the Bangchuai Dao, had been retrofitted with a ramp that enables vehicles to roll on and off at sea. Just days after Kennedy's report was published, Thomas Shugart, an adjunct senior fellow at the Center for a New American Security, tweeted a thread using information from the website of the Marine Traffic showing two large Chinese ferries anchored off the same amphibious training site where the Bangchuai Dao had operated with PLA naval vessels the summer before. One of the ferries is the Bohai Ma Zhu. The other ferry, the Huadong Pearl 8, is even larger. Shugart estimates that China's civilian vehicle carriers represent more than 1.1 million tons of potential vehicle and troop transport ships. For perspective, Shugart notes that is more than 3 times the roughly 370,000 tons of China's entire fleet of amphibious assault ships. Furthermore, Hong Kong has an additional 370,000 tons of civilian vehicle carriers, which could potentially be enlisted under the new national security law. Although most Taiwanese expect a Level 1 alert downgrade after months of fewer cases, the Central Epidemic Command Center sent 1.1 million text messages on September 4th. It warned receivers to self-check if they visited the same locations at the same time as the pilots in suspected COVID-19 cluster. 3 EVA air pilots and 1 family member have all been confirmed to have contracted the Delta variant of COVID-19 announced by the Central Epidemic Command Center on September 6th. The 4 cases include 3 EVA air pilots and the son of one of them. The high school the infected student attends was closed for 2 weeks as a precautionary measure. A total of 2,855 people, either from the school or EVA Air, have since undergone screenings, and all results came back negative. But the incident has sent Taiwan into renewed alert. In a similar precautionary measure, the CECC sent around 1.1 million text messages to individuals who visited the same place at the same time as the 4 cases. The CECC urges anyone who thinks they have come down with suspected symptoms of COVID-19 after August 13th are advised to immediately seek medical attention or get tested for the disease. In fear of an outbreak, Taiwan and New Taipei City tightened restrictions of Level 2 alert. But the government does not plan to elevate the nationwide Level 2 COVID-19 alert at this time, despite a growing cluster of infections in New Taipei City.
And that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us on this week's Fun Day News. Let's make every day a fun day. I'm Wade Lee, your host, and I will see you next time.